You want to come in? No? Okay. Welcome to another Gnostic study of the Gospel of John here with Pete Haskins in beautiful Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. It is a beautiful day here in May, and it's great having you with me here in my office. As you can see, Bernie Sanders was here this morning, so I've been talking to him, trying to calm him down, tell him to relax a little bit. But anyway, great having you with me, and just excited about this Bible study, and I don't ever remember feeling this excited about a Bible study in a long time. So I hope you are too, and this is only I think the third or fourth one that we've done, and I'm going to be pulling out some different stuff. Got the Elaine Pagel's book the other day. I started rereading that, and I'm going to be using this book. I want to introduce a new book to you today, a new writer. Some of you Fourth Way fans will notice this guy, Maurice Nicholl. This is a book called The New Man, and it is an interpretation of the parables and miracles of Christ. And there's a chapter in this on the wedding at Cana. And we're going to be talking about the wedding at Cana today. So very excited about this, and just kind of weaving some of the themes of Gnosticism, not going full force into Gnosticism, but just interested in the ideas. Okay, so everybody just going. We're just dipping our toes into the pool of Gnosticism and getting into some of the Fourth Way, just different interpretations of this, which I love. I love it. So grab some coffee, chill out, and thanks for joining me. So we'll get going here. Let me just go ahead and read from this first few verses in chapter 2 of John. Jesus changes water to wine. This is using my archaeological study Bible. On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Dear woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied, "My time has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." This is the first of his miraculous signs Jesus performed at Cana in Galilee. He thus revealed his glory, and his disciples put their faith in him. Whew, I had to take my sweater off. It is not sweater weather at this time. Want to just kind of dive right into this. One of the things that is fascinating to me, Maurice Nicholl was a psychiatrist and highly respected, who actually worked with Carl Jung and then Gurdjieff, of course, Gurdjieff and Ouspensky in the Fourth Way. But he's a British psychologist, and devoted the last 20 years of his life to really working into the psychological teachings of the New Testament, in particular Christ's teachings and the parables and the miracles. So that's his background, and when I first read it, when I was right out of seminary, I just was blown away by it, and I thought, where was this in seminary? You know, it's stuff they just didn't teach. You know, and you have to, being in seminary is almost like you just gathering up a nice reading list for later on, because the real learning happens on your own when you're out really doing ministry and life. So this psychological approach is fascinating to me. Just a few insights into this. This, like the first 2 pages of this is just so rich in terms of his insight. Nicholl talks about how nothing is said regarding who the bride and groom are in this passage. Now, why is that? They're not even mentioned. So obviously, someone like Nicholl, and I really like this idea that it's not really about a marriage of 2 people. It is a marriage of opposites, of the human side of Christ, the Jesus and the Christ, right? The human side, physical side, and the spiritual side. So it is a union of opposites, and that's very Jungian, isn't it? That sense of union within. And to some extent, that is the same idea that the Gnostics are after when they talk about returning to your source, and that this knowledge and this union of opposites within brings about this gnosis that is already within. So Jesus is doing something very radical here. And he talks about how the old master is very silent in this passage. This is a very short little passage here. I mean, we're only talking 11 verses that John just is so succinct, and it's just amazing how he draws all this out. So the old master is silent when the new master appears. And, Jesus' mother is telling him, hey, and Jesus says, whoa, slow down. I'm on my own time, Mom, right? And there's significance in this silence that Maurice Nicholl talks about. There's no violence here. And I love this because he says, earthly authority is not overcome with violence. And that's a quote from Nicholl. Earthly authority is not overcome by violence. So there is no violence within this passage. And think about this transition. The old master just says, all right, you did that. You turned water into wine. And there's only silence. So in order for this marriage of opposites to occur, and for an internal psychological change to occur within us, there has to be silence. There has to be inner stillness. All right, so when we're talking about John, we're talking a lot about symbolism here. And Nicholl talks a lot about symbolism, allegories in terms of numbers even, 3 being an old ancient allegorical number signifying fulfillment, and the number 6, notice the 6 jars here that were filled. 6 is means a creation or preparation for an achievement. So we've got this allegory within John that talks about this anticipation, and at the very, very onset here of this gospel, the very first thing that Jesus is doing is this turning water into wine. And one of the things that a lot of speculation as to why he said this particular thing to his mother, which was, "Woman, what have I to do with thee?" He's pretty harsh with his mom there, and a lot of speculation as to why he was. And Nicholl talks about this not having, you can't take this literally in terms of him saying this to his mother. Just as the wedding is not an actual wedding between 2 people, it is that wedding between the 2 halves, the opposites, in that Jungian sense. I remember Nicholl was studied with Carl Jung. So this union takes place, and he's talking about his mother now. This one section of this essay that he has on the marriage at Cana talks about how this mother symbolizes the former or the lower level that Christ had been at prior to this time, and he was progressing. Christ was progressing in his sense of being the Christ, from the Jesus to the Christ. And this wedding is and this rebuke of his mother is talking about to his mother. He says, "Woman, what have I to do with thee?" And this lower level that Jesus is talking about here and talking to and saying, that's my old self. That's the old me. I'm not. What have you to do with me? I've got destiny ready for me, but don't remind me of my past and what that lower level was. And it all builds up to Golgotha. Even someone like Rudolf Steiner looks at Golgotha as the turning point in Christianity, and it's an obvious point. But that's one of the things that differentiates Christ from Buddha, is that he went further than Buddha and was able to live out this drama in front of his disciples. And Nicholl says that this drama that he's living out all through this, and that's what John is, it's a drama, shows that he says that, quote, it's the destruction, this drama is the destruction of psychological truth by literal truth, which is the continual drama of human life. So this whole scene here, especially that everything with the wedding at Cana, everything is leading up to Golgotha. It all is. This is a continual story, a drama that John is writing. Fantastic writing. So this destruction of the psychological truth that Christ is saying by the literal truth, by the lower levels. And it is this drama that there's this back and forth between this ideal and what God has in store for us and the reality of this earth. And that's where Gnosticism comes in. The Gnostics believe that this demiurge, this place that we live in, is an evil place, and it is a place that makes us fall asleep, and that the time that we have on this earth is meant to awaken us, and we need teachers like Christ to awaken us to the potential that we have, this gnosis that each one of us has within us. So you see here that he's reminding us with this whole life, not to be taken literally, but this whole life, that we are on a journey, that all of us are on journeys, and that when we do progress and we do make advancements in our spiritual life, it's okay to not go back. And my brothers and sisters who are in recovery from addictions, there's a point where you can move on. You don't have to continually go back and relive some of these things, even when you're doing step work. But all of us, it's okay to move past these steps and say, what do you have to do with me? That's my old self. I don't want to deal with that. And it's okay in your life to be able to move on from these episodes in your past, and to be able to start over. And this evolution that Christ is exemplifying is just fascinating. So I just love this part. This part is just one of the most beautiful sections of Maurice Nicholl's The New Man, in this section here called The Marriage at Cana. We talked a little bit last week about the idea of hesychasm in the early church, in the Orthodox theology. Hesychasm is a huge deal. It is a term that talks about ideas regarding inner stillness. And in the Mill Pond meditation that I did this last week, I actually specifically addressed the issue of meditation and inner stillness. And that's what we're going toward. And this study is going to be more and more geared toward finding this inner stillness within us. And this wedding at Cana is so significant because it is at the very, very beginning of this book. And it is a changing of everything for the Jews, because a new master has appeared. Christ. The Christ. And someone like Rudolf Steiner is going to look at Christ and say he is a part of the mystery tradition, the mystery religions, all the way back into Egypt, and that Christ is this embodiment of this new teacher, going way beyond even what Buddhism would was able to do, but to allow this awakening, this gnosis, this marriage, this union of opposites. These are all just languages. These are words. And what we're interested in this study is the idea behind them, the idea behind the Christ, and how that Christ can be awakened within us, and how we can have that. And we're not going to achieve any of this, because this isn't just a Bible study to feel like we know a lot of stuff that we can, whatever. This is a Bible study that helps us move forward and moves past ourselves and moves past the violence, moves past the violence of our inner world. And we cannot have that peace and that change without silence. You have to have silence. So one of the things that Maurice Nicholl talks about here is the fact that the old master is silent. And why? You have to have silence. When's the last time you had silence in your life? When was the last time you sat and bathed yourself in silence? I'm sitting in a church right now, and there's no one here. It is completely silent. But inside, I'm thinking about what happened this morning. I'm thinking about what I have to go do here in a minute. I got to go pick up the kids. I'm thinking about a meeting that I have to go to tonight. Thinking about tomorrow. But until I find time to sit down, straighten up, put my hands on my knees, and begin to breathe from the diaphragm, and begin to breathe in and breathe out, and weave the Jesus prayer into that breathing. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And not force anything. Don't force my body into it, but relax and allow that silence to be listened to. And you realize that you have a lot of clutter that goes on inside you. And that's what we're after. So as we begin to talk more and more about this passage at Cana, and then, the next passage is Jesus cleansing the temple. So it's on now, because we are going to have a whole new line of thinking regarding the cleansing of the temple. But it all starts with hesychasm. All starts with silence. Because this wedding at Cana is really about you. It's about me. It's about that union that Christ showed us is possible. Because what Christ is doing here is he is broadening the message that Judaism had brought about. And he's saying it is not just for the Jews. It is for everyone. It's not just for the initiates, as Rudolf Steiner would say, the initiates in the mystery religions. It is not just for a select few, right? It's for everyone. And that's what Christ is saying. This union, this marriage of opposites within you is possible. It's not just for a select few. This awakening can happen within you. And that is still a radical message, because people today are looking for enlightenment through worship music and through politics and through conspiracy theories and paranoia and violence. No, don't go toward violence. Because the next step after politics is what? Is war, is conflict. That's how close politics is to war. It's the next step. Revival in America isn't going to happen through politics, through legislation, through the Supreme Court. It happens here, and it happens here. So the silence you have to find a place. You have to find time. So be thinking about that. We're going to walk our way through this. But this wedding at Cana is all about this. And it's really about you. Blessings to you on life's journey. And thank you so much for being here with me. And be safe. Keep your sense of humor. Relax. And find time this week for some silence in your life. And use that Jesus prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. I'll see you next time. Bernie, I think it's okay to take the gloves off. It's May. Yeah, it's okay. Just relax.